player on the park in the first 55 minutes of this contest. And that will do his confidence the world of good.
He's been busy, Robson, and apart from the try assists, which are 3 now, he's been very clever with the ball, showing it inside, outside, put some nice passes on for some players to get them half through holes, which has allowed the Eels to continue to play quick.
The kick is between the uprights from Luke Burt to make it 28 points to 0. Terrific chance to help their forward against, and moving quite clearly towards the 4th win of their season. There's the grubber once again. It was a terrific job to be able to get that ball over the top, after picking it up in the one motion almost from Robson to Atkins, and Atkins, second try of his Parramatta career.
He had to juggle it. Really, he was forced to kick too. If we saw there, he looked to pass the ball. He went to pass it to his outside men who were all in front of him. Robson took it upon himself to just get it through the defensive line. Hayne has to run to get to that one on the full, and does. And Parramatta start their set from a good position, almost out to the 30.
Through Fui Moi Moi to emphasise the point as far as the night that Robson is having. Before tonight, he'd had just 1 try assist for the season. Now he's picked up 3. Take his tally to 4 as Horrow takes them almost back into Sharks territory on 3 plays.
They're falling off tackles now, the Sharks. They'll need to be careful. That's why we're talking about this Parramatta side. If they can be ruthless here, they can rattle up a score.
Gives it to Moi Moi, his second carry in this set. The set it is off the back of the points. Nice play here. They're 30 metres out from the Sharks line. This one's a repeat set. Put it high in the air. Some pressure on Isaac Gordon. Forget the repeat set, because coming up with it, Justin Horrow is high above the pack to keep the points coming for the Eels.
I watched Horrow. The minute that ball was kicked, Jared Hayne put it high, and Horrow always looked like the man that was going to be to take it. You watch. That's all he's got on his mind. He's watching where the ball is now. He had to get around Scott Porter, run a bit wide and run an arc to get himself back where he thought the ball was going to land. And terrific work, Justin Horrow, who has been in and out of the starting side this year. He's a good player, Justin Horrow, and that's a special piece of play there from him.
Yeah, and he also had a good carry in that set of 6. He nearly opened them up through the middle. And that's what you want from your bench players when they get on the field, to make an impact straight away. Continue the intensity or lift the intensity if you're lacking in that department. That's his first one of 2011. He's a good player. And it was a high kick, and Horrow, eyes only for the football. He came down with it. He scored. And this will be a big 20 minutes for the Sharks. I mean, Parramatta, as I mentioned before, if they want to be ruthless, I think there's some points there for them to improve their for and against.
They'll get 2 more right here through the boot of Burt to make it 34 points to 0. Still, we haven't made it to the hour mark as yet. It was up there for a long time off that big boot of Jared Hayne. The advantage he has over Isaac Gordon. Clean catch, and Horrow diving in. It's hard to imagine this sort of scoreline given the scorelines we've seen so far this weekend. And games that have been disrupted by players being absent, of course, on Origin duty. I don't know how many more seasons we'll see of weekends where teams are forced to play with men missing in their lineup. It might be a rejigging of the season once the commission comes in.
Well, I've got no doubt. I've got no doubt. But Parramatta have been able to achieve this scoreline through their efforts with and without the ball. You look at their completion rate, 26 from 31, and they're challenging the Sharks team. Lovely ball there from Jared Hayne on to Robson, who then offloads it to Fui Moi Moi. And again, some easy yards. The contact from the Sharks is flimsy.
Here's the kick. Under Isaac Gordon. Luke Burt was steaming through, looking to put some pressure on the Sharks fullback, and the fact that he was called out of it, the officials who said that he was offside on the kick. And more pressure coming up there on the fullback. There's Wade Graham again. Might have heard you, Laurie. A couple of carries from inside his own territory. They've had so little of the ball at the other end of the field to see what they can do in attack.
That's a frustration carry, that from Wade Graham. He wants to inject himself into the game. He shouldn't be doing those type of runs. You take your hat off to him for doing it because he wants to get involved. It's when he stands a little bit wider, receives the football out in front of him, he's going against less defenders. That's when he'll worry the opposition.
Flanagan's kick went straight to Jared Hayne. And now Bird, away from dummy half. Reaching it up towards the 40. Well, inside the final 20 minutes is this one. Jacob Loco working it out. Dummy half taken there by Tau Tai and also Douglas. Now quick switch. The expanse to the right-hand side, and Lasalo almost getting away from the tackle there of Flanagan. Had some help from Cordoba and certainly needed it. He's inside the Sharks 40 when he plays it. Maguire putting a kick in. It'll be too deep. It'll bounce beyond the dead ball line. And the Sharks will bring it back out to their own 20. He's been solid tonight in his new role as far as this season is concerned. Casey Maguire getting a chance out there in the halves.
Well, he's a footballer, Casey Maguire. I think you could play him in a number of positions in the football side. You could play him as a lock, you could play him in the centres, and you know what you're going to get from him. You know, he knows what his role would be. In the halves, it's a bit more of a passing game. I'm sure if he was made to play a running game in the centres, he'd be able to do that. He's very professional. He's been around. He's won a grand final with the Brisbane Broncos.
Here come the Sharks. 30 away from the Eels line. Flanagan coming out from dummy half and put it up in the air through John Morris. Some pressure here on Hayne. Luke Douglas was the first of the Sharks down there, but he overshot the runway.
Well, they haven't had many chances, the Sharks. They have tested Jared Hayne. That's 3 or 4 times now Hayne has taken a high ball under a lot of pressure. Certainly handled that part of the game well.
Playing it now, Walker. And should be on the 30 for Parramatta. Keating still handling things from dummy half at the moment. Good run. Taken back towards the halfway line. Play it there through Webb. Here's Hayne. Just blasting one down the field. That looked destined for the dead ball line. In fact, it got there eventually, but it looked like it was going to get there quite comfortably. Almost well, we've done our bit. We'll just boot it dead, one of those plays, and let you work it away from the 20.
Well, they've got the right idea, Parramatta, except they're having too much weight on the kicks. I think the plan is to continue on putting the ball down the other end of the field and making Cronulla work it off their own line and not get too fancy late in the tackle count. Just the execution is not there at the moment.
Now Morris goes to Graham. Here's Tupou. He hasn't had too many chances out there on the left fringes tonight. Play it through Gordon. Comes back to Morris. Showing it, working feverishly towards the line, but they weren't falling for a dummy there. Hindmarsh and Keating had his number. Here's Graham to kick. I just wonder, a little bit of backspin, with overspin if anything else. And Hayne will bring it back out. And the Eels are doing it pretty nicely at the moment. Just you get the impression, maybe happy with 34 points, and they might just grind the rest of this one away. You'd like to see, as far as a spectacle is concerned, see them go on with the job here and see if they can crack 50.
Yeah, you'd think if they continue to get through their sets, and talking about sets, they were 9 clear, had 9 extra sets as Tupou comes up with a big shot there on Lasalo. That has shifted out to 11 extra sets. Little wonder the score is 34-0. That's a big difference in possession.
Pretty good completion rate to this point as well. 29 of 34. Mr. Horrow, who getting slapped across the chops there for his trouble. No whistle from the referees. Parramatta still set for advantage as far as that tally is concerned. The kick coming back towards the touchline again. They're happy to see it go out of play to use up the clock. And the Sharks will have the scrum feed, 10 out from their own line.
Yeah, just practicing getting through their sets in a tight game. This is the way they want to play. I just assume that's the message from Steve Kearney, is to rehearse for bigger and tougher games down the track. Don't lose our focus, even though we're 34 points in front with 15 minutes to play. Continue to work and build on our game.
Anthony. The scrum means your head goes in here and you pull them tight.
Perhaps a warning. Referee Jason Robinson. The referees were, for a couple of rounds there, pretty brutal as far as the setting of scrums were concerned. Certainly taking chances a month or so ago, maybe much longer than that. But they've switched back into that, trying to get a nice, clean scrum away at the moment. Now Graham goes to Douglas. Boy, what a game he's had. Terrific numbers, 38 tackles, 15 carries now for the game.
Hasn't been off the field. Hasn't been rested.
Here's Morris. Nana will play it. 35 away from the Parramatta line. Back to Morris again. It's a bomb up off the outside of the boot. A bit of spiral on it, in fact, as it turned out. It went down to Atkins. No real pressure there on the winger. Nice, comfortable night there in the back three for the Eels. Chris Walker to work it up towards the 20. Here's Hayne. You'd like to see him burst through the line at some stage or just put something on, trying to put something on. It comes to Justin Horrow. Good speed as well. He's away. He's got Burt backing up on the inside. He goes to Gordon, runs away from the fullback, straightens now, goes towards the uprights. He's inside the Sharks 20. Nice spread by Carl Webb to Justin Horrow to have him steaming down the field. Here is Hayne. He's only a couple of metres out. We'll play it for Anthony Mitchell, who is back out there now after the stint by Keating. Here's Maguire, turning it back on the inside for Horrow, who's looking for a bit of petrol, you'd think, after the run he made. He certainly wasn't expecting the ball on that play. Mitchell again. Goes back to Robson. A grubber. It sits up off its point as well. Gordon is trapped. And Parramatta gets 6 more tackles. They've worked another goal line dropout. And of course, they scored plenty of tries in the first half off the back of repeat sets. There's the ball by Carl Webb. He attracted 2 or 3 defenders, and Horrow was away.
He did well, Horrow, too. He saw Bird on the inside, just couldn't get a ball to him through the dummy. Made another 10 or 15 metres. Got back to the centre of the field. They were in good position. Robson's kick was spot on again. Isaac Gordon was there to clean it up. But as Gordon took the ball, Walker and the man that kicked it, Jeff Robson, were there to take him. Another set for the Eels.
A chance for Carl Webb to wind up and bring it back towards the Sharks 30. A couple of conservative sets. The lead up to this, they're back on the attack.